Welcome to True Tomorrows. I'm Adrian Smith, and, I'm your host for today's little trip into the unknown corners of our future.
And I'm Julia Jones. I'm here to kind of guide us through the latest, scientific wonders and AI mysteries and those twists and turns that make you think twice about tomorrow.
If you're into tech and the strange and the just plain surprising,
Yeah.
then you're in the right place. This show is all about exploring that thrilling landscape where, tomorrow's reality kind of blurs with science fiction.
And hey, if you enjoy these stories, don't forget to rate and follow True Tomorrows. We've got new captivating tales waiting for you every day.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Imagine a world where time travel exists, but with a catch. Every change you make to the past has consequences, unintended and potentially disastrous consequences. That's the world of Lost Echoes, a story that gets you thinking about the ripple effects of our actions. What stands out to you about this concept?
Well, what I find fascinating is how Lost Echoes uses the butterfly effect. It's not just a cool sci-fi trope, it's a real idea in chaos theory. Even tiny changes to a system can create massive, unpredictable outcomes. It really makes you wonder how much control we actually have.
That's right. In the story, we meet the Rift Rebels, a group that starts out with seemingly noble goals. They use time travel to overturn a tyrant's decree. They even save a brilliant inventor from being silenced. It's like classic Robin Hood stuff, but with a time twist.
And at first, it seems like they're succeeding. They're getting these glowing reports from the future about how their changes are making things better. It paints this almost addictive picture of,
Okay.
having the power to fix history.
But here's where things get really interesting. The more they change, the more the timeline pushes back. It's like they're stretching a rubber band further and further, and you just know that snap is inevitable.
Absolutely. The story uses this vivid image of their tech expert. He grows physically paler as he sees projections of the timeline warping and twisting. The consequences of their actions start spiraling out of control. And it's a stark visual reminder that tampering with time isn't a game.
And their final time jump. It's this desperate attempt to contain a plague. But instead of stopping it, they actually make it spread across multiple timelines, creating even more chaos. It highlights a crucial question. Can we truly fix the past without causing more problems? And who are we to even decide what needs fixing? What are your thoughts?
That's a tough one. The Rift Rebels' intentions were good, but the arrogance of thinking they could control the complexities of time is ultimately what leads to their downfall. It reminds me of discussions today about powerful technologies like AI. The potential is enormous, but so are the risks if we don't approach them responsibly.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happens to the Rift Rebels. They try to escape back to their own time, but the rift, the tear in time itself, it fights back. They end up stranded in London centuries before their own time, surrounded by horse-drawn carriages and newsboys hawking papers with these impossibly old dates. It's a striking image of how their grand ambitions backfired, leaving them utterly lost.
And this is where the story shifts gears. The Rift Rebels transition from these bold, almost reckless time travelers to something entirely different. Their grand gestures are over. Now, trapped in the past, they have to become weavers of history, subtly nudging events to try and undo the damage they've caused. It's a stark contrast to their initial approach.
It's a pretty bleak ending for our heroes, wouldn't you say? They're essentially stuck in a time that's not their own, forever trying to atone for their mistakes.
Yeah.
What do you think that says about the story's message?
It's definitely a thought-provoking ending, and I think it speaks to the idea that actions have consequences, even when those consequences are unintended. The Rift Rebels learned the hard way that tampering with time can have devastating effects, and now they're burdened with trying to mend the very fabric they tore apart. It's a poignant reminder that we all have a responsibility for our choices, even when those choices involve technology with far-reaching consequences.
It really makes you wonder if attempting to change the past is ever worth the risk. Even if we could, should we?
That's a question for the ages, and one that Lost Echoes really forces us to grapple with.
Okay, so we've talked about the Rift Rebels and their journey through time. Let's connect this back to our world. Obviously, we don't have time travel yet, but we do have technologies that are rapidly changing the world.
Yeah.
And often we don't have a clear understanding of their long-term effects.
Exactly. Think about AI. It has the potential to revolutionize countless aspects of our lives from healthcare to transportation, but it also poses serious risks if it's not developed and used responsibly. We're already seeing debates about things like, algorithmic bias and the potential for AI to be used for surveillance and the possibility of job displacement.
It's like that saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
We're on the cusp of some incredible breakthroughs, but we need to proceed with caution and humility. If the Rift Rebel story teaches us anything, it's that even the best intentions can go horribly wrong if we're not careful. We need to think about the potential downsides and consider all the possible consequences before unleashing a new technology on the world. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more. The story really serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that we can't just focus on the shiny, exciting aspects of technology without considering the potential dark side. It's about fostering a mindset of responsible innovation where we're not just chasing progress blindly, but carefully evaluating the potential impact of our creations.
So what can we learn from this story? What are some takeaways that we can apply to our lives and the way we approach technology? What would you say is the most important message to consider?
I think one of the most important messages is the need for humility. We need to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, and we certainly can't predict the future with certainty. We need to be open to the possibility that our actions might have unintended consequences, even when our intentions are good.
It's about being humble, about our ability to control technology, right? Recognizing that sometimes the best way to avoid unintended consequences is to simply proceed with caution.
Absolutely. And it's also about fostering a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation. We need to be willing to change course if we see that our actions are having unintended consequences.
Okay, so we've talked about the need for humility, but what else can we do as individuals to ensure that technology is used for good and not for harm?
Well, I think it starts with being informed and engaged. We need to stay informed about the latest developments in technology and understand the potential benefits and risks. We also need to be active participants in the conversation about the ethical implications of these technologies.
So it's not just about being passive consumers of technology, but actively shaping how it's developed and used.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our role in shaping the future. And
Yeah.
that starts with being informed, engaged, and willing to speak up when we see something that's not right.
I love that. So it's not just about preventing the negative, but also about actively shaping the positive, right? Pushing for a future where technology is truly used to benefit humanity.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great place to leave our listeners for now with that idea of taking ownership and being active participants in shaping the future we want to see.
You've given me a lot to think about. What else do you think we should cover?
Well, I think it's time we move beyond the hypothetical. Let's delve into some real-world examples of technologies that are grappling with these very dilemmas. So picking up where we left off Lost Echoes really got me thinking about some parallels in the world of AI.
Yeah, that's a great point. It seems like every day there's a new headline about some groundbreaking AI advancement, but are we moving too fast? Are we considering the potential consequences?
It's a valid concern. The story highlights how easily we can get caught up in the excitement of new technology and overlook potential risks. Just like the Rift Rebels. We're driven by this allure of solving problems and pushing boundaries. But as the story shows, that ambition can blind us to the unintended consequences.
Yeah, it's like that classic saying, playing God, right?
Right.
We're developing these AI systems that can perform tasks that we once thought were exclusive to humans, composing music writing code, even diagnosing diseases. It's both exhilarating and terrifying to think we're on the verge of rewriting the rules of life itself.
Exactly. And that's where ethics comes in. We can't just let the excitement of innovation blind us to the potential consequences. It's crucial that we have these serious conversations about the ethical implications of AI and establish safeguards to ensure responsible development and deployment.
For example, I read a story about an AI system that was designed to predict crime. It was supposed to help law enforcement allocate resources more effectively, but it ended up perpetuating existing biases, disproportionately targeting certain communities.
That's a perfect example of how good intentions can go awry if we're not careful. We need to be incredibly mindful about the data we feed these systems and ensure they're not perpetuating harmful biases.
It's a bit like the Rift Rebels, trying to fix the past but accidentally making things worse. They were blinded by their desire for a positive outcome, but they didn't fully understand the complexities of the system they were tampering with.
Right. And just like with time travel in Lost Echoes, the impact of AI reaches far beyond the immediate application. We need to consider the long-term consequences of these technologies and how it'll shape our society.
So how do we ensure we don't repeat the mistakes of the Rift Rebels in the real world? How do we strike that balance between pushing innovation forward and safeguarding against those unintended consequences?
Well, I think transparency is key. We need open dialogues about the development and deployment of AI involving not just technologists, but ethicists, social scientists, and the public perspectives. Diverse perspectives can help us identify potential pitfalls and develop more responsible solutions.
And it's not just about identifying the problems, right? We need mechanisms for course correction. What happens when AI systems do exhibit harmful biases or unintended consequences? How do we adapt?
Absolutely. We need to build in mechanisms for accountability and oversight. It's about creating a system where AI development isn't a black box, but a collaborative process with checks and balances to ensure responsible innovation.
It's a lot to consider,
Yeah,
but I think it's a crucial conversation to have. We're at a pivotal point in history where the decisions we make today about AI will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come.
absolutely. And Lost Echoes serves as a powerful reminder that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or ill. It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to build with it.
Speaking of shaping the future, the story also touches on this idea of fixing the past. Do you think this is something we should even be striving for, especially with technology like AI?
It's a fascinating question. While we may not have literal time travel, AI does give us unprecedented power to analyze and learn from history. However, just like the Rift Rebels discovered, the past is incredibly complex and interconnected attempts to fix. It could lead to unintended consequences that ripple throughout time.
It's like that old saying, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. But maybe there's a flip side to that. Those who try to rewrite the past might be condemned to create a future they didn't intend.
Exactly. Instead of trying to erase or alter the past, perhaps the more responsible approach is to use AI to understand it better, learn from our mistakes, and make more informed decisions moving forward.
It's about accepting the complexities of history and recognizing that every event, even the negative ones, has contributed to shaping the world we live in today.
I think that's a really insightful way to put it. Lost Echoes doesn't offer easy answers about how to navigate the challenges of powerful technology, but it does highlight the need for humility, foresight, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of our actions and their consequences.
It's a call for a more mindful approach to innovation, one that prioritizes ethical considerations and the long-term well-being of humanity alongside technological advancement.
Absolutely. And I think that's a powerful message to carry with us as we continue to explore the ever-evolving landscape of technology and its impact on our lives.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from time travel paradoxes to the ethical implications of artificial intelligence, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface. There's still so much more to unpack and discuss.
You're right, we haven't even touched on the fascinating realm of human augmentation and its potential to redefine what it means to be human. Shall we delve into that next?
Let's do it. Folks, join us for part 3, where we'll be exploring the blurring lines between human and machine and the ethical dilemmas that arise as technology becomes increasingly integrated with our bodies and minds. It's going to be a wild ride, so stay tuned.
You know, as we dive into this world of human augmentation, I keep thinking back to the Rift Rebels and their obsession with control. You know, they thought they could manipulate time, but ultimately it was time that controlled them.
That's a really interesting connection, and it makes me wonder, are we headed down a similar path with human augmentation? Or are we so focused on, enhancing ourselves, on achieving some kind of technological perfection that we're overlooking the potential consequences?
It's a valid concern. We're already seeing this push towards self-optimization with things like, wearable fitness trackers and brain-boosting supplements, even genetic screening for designer babies. It's like we're trying to hack the human code and upgrade ourselves to some, idealized version.
I've always been fascinated by the idea of human augmentation. The possibility of merging technology with our bodies and minds to enhance our abilities. But Lost Echoes really makes me pause and think about where that desire for enhancement could lead us.
Exactly. And the story raises some really important questions. What happens to our sense of self, our humanity, when we start blurring the lines between biology and technology?
I've always struggled with learning languages. The idea of downloading fluency directly into my brain is incredibly tempting.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder, would it feel as rewarding? Would it even be truly mine?
That's such a great question. It gets at the heart of this dilemma. What happens to the value of hard work, of struggle, of personal growth when we can just shortcut those processes through technological enhancement?
And then there's the issue of access, right? Will these enhancements be available to everyone, or will they create a new divide between the enhanced and the unenhanced? Will we see a future where the wealthy can essentially buy their way to superior intelligence or physical prowess or even longevity?
It's a valid concern. We already see disparities in access to healthcare and technology. It's not hard to imagine those gaps widening further if human augmentation becomes a reality. It could exacerbate existing inequalities and create a whole new class system based on, biological enhancements.
It's like a sci-fi dystopia come to life. And it's not just about the potential social and economic consequences. There are also ethical dilemmas to consider. For example, what happens when we start manipulating our genes not just to eliminate diseases, but to enhance desirable traits? Where do we draw the line?
That's a slippery slope for sure. It's one thing to use genetic editing to prevent a debilitating disease, but it's quite another to use it to enhance intelligence or athletic ability or physical appearance. It raises questions about what it means to be human and what values we prioritize as a society.
It's almost like we're playing a game with evolution itself, taking control of the process and potentially creating unintended consequences down the line. Just like the Rift Rebels meddling with time, who knows what unforeseen repercussions we might unleash by tinkering with the very essence of what makes us human.
Right. And it's crucial that we have these conversations now before these technologies become so advanced that it's too late to course correct. We need to establish ethical guidelines and regulations and societal norms that ensure responsible development and equitable access to human augmentation technologies.
So what can we as individuals do to ensure that human augmentation is used responsibly and ethically? It feels like such a massive, complex issue.
You're right, it is a complex issue. But just like with any technological advancement, our individual choices and actions can have a ripple effect. We can start by educating ourselves about the potential benefits and risks of human augmentation technologies.
It's about becoming informed citizens, right?
Yeah.
Understanding the science and the ethical implications and the potential societal impact.
Exactly. And, we can engage in conversations with our friends and family and communities about these issues. The more we talk about it, the more we raise awareness and foster critical thinking about how we want to shape the future of human augmentation.
And I think it's also important to support organizations and initiatives that are promoting responsible innovation in this field. Groups that are working to ensure that these technologies are developed ethically with a focus on equity and human well-being.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to future generations to ensure that we're not just blindly pursuing technological progress, but that we're using these advancements to create a world that's better for everyone.
It's been a fascinating journey today, from the cautionary tale of lost echoes to the very real ethical dilemmas that we face with emerging technologies like AI and human augmentation.
It has been quite a thought-provoking conversation, and I think it highlights the importance of approaching technological innovation with a sense of responsibility and humility and a deep consideration for the long-term consequences of our actions.
Well said. And to our listeners, we hope this episode has sparked some curiosity and maybe even a bit of healthy skepticism about the future of technology. Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create through our choices and actions.
And that's what True Tomorrows is all about. Exploring the potential of tomorrow today. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating and ever-evolving world of technology and its impact on our lives.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. And don't forget to rate and follow True Tomorrows for more captivating stories from the edge of tomorrow.